So I want you to imagine trying to run this really sensitive, like board level negotiation from your kitchen table.
Oh, man. Yeah. We've all been there.
Right. And you're practically whispering because, I mean, there is a toddler just having an absolute meltdown in the next room.
The classic work from home trap.
Exactly. Or, okay, maybe you actually managed to escape the house, right? But then you find yourself sitting at this cramped, super wobbly cafe table.
Shaking every time you type.
Yes. And you're just waiting to unmute on the most critical Zoom call of the quarter. And literally the second you open your mouth to speak, the barista just fires up this industrial ice blender.
It never fails.
Yeah.
It's like they wait for it.
They really do. And in that moment, that whole illusion of your seamless professional, work from anywhere life, it just entirely shatters.
It really does. And, well, it's a uniquely modern kind of anxiety.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we're basically living in this gap, right? Between the promised utopia of ultimate professional freedom and the gritty, chaotic reality of actually trying to execute complex tasks
Yeah.
in environments that, honestly, were just never designed to support them.
Right. And that friction, that specific gap between the dream and the reality, that is exactly what we are dissecting today.
Yeah, it's a massive topic.
It is. So welcome to the deep dive, everyone. For this one, we are examining the mechanics of the modern workspace. And we're using a very specific lens for this. We're looking at the Focus Business Lounge in Peterborough.
Which is a really fascinating case study.
It really is. Based on the operational and promotional details they provided, this isn't, it's not just another place to rent a desk for a couple of hours.
No, not at all.
We're looking at what actually happens when you introduce fully plug-and-play professional infrastructure into a local community. And, how that model is actively dismantling the old rules of where and how serious work gets done.
Right, because our mission here is to move way past that sort of superficial conversation about remote work.
Right, the usual home versus office debate.
Exactly. This setup in Peterborough points to a fundamental reimagining of how professional friction is managed. We're going to examine the cognitive, the financial, and the macroeconomic ripple effects of basically decentering the traditional corporate office.
Yeah, and replacing it with localized, high-tier infrastructure.
Which is huge.
It is. So let's start with the psychological tax of that coffee shop scenario we mentioned, because we've all felt it.
Intimately.
Right. But I don't think we always recognize the actual, biological toll it takes on our focus.
We really don't.
Because the traditional shared workspace model, it usually tries to solve this chaos by just throwing you a hot desk and a shaky chair in a room full of random stranger.
Yeah, which doesn't really fix the problem.
No, exactly. But the source material for Focus Business Lounge, it emphasizes a completely different approach. They offer private, fully equipped offices that act as a VIP membership for your productivity.
I love that phrasing.
Yeah, it's entirely plug and play. Okay, let's unpack this a bit, because trying to execute high-level professional work at a noisy coffee shop, to me, it's like trying to record a symphony in a subway station.
That is a perfectly accurate analogy.
Right. So why is this specific plug-and-play model such a game changer for someone's mental focus? What's actually happening there?
Well, to understand why that plug-and-play model alters your output, we kind of have to look at the neurology of cognitive load.
Okay, lay it on me.
So when you are sitting in a coffee shop or even, just a really unoptimized home office, you might think you're focusing entirely on your spreadsheet.
Sure, because you're staring at it.
Exactly. But your brain is actually running what we can think of as background applications.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's literally like a computer's RAM. You've got 20 heavy software programs running in the background, just constantly refreshing and pulling power, even if you're only actively staring at one single document on your screen.
That is the perfect way to visualize it. Your brain's RAM, which is your working memory and executive function, mostly living in the prefrontal cortex, is just constantly processing environmental threats and logistics.
Right, like the blender.
Exactly. It's monitoring the decibel level of the blender.
Hmm.
It's tracking that guy who's eyeing your chair when you desperately need to use the restroom.
Oh, the chair anxiety is so real.
Right. It's hyper-vigilant about the public Wi-Fi dropping. And even at home, right, a fraction of your attention is just dedicated to the laundry you can see out the corner of your eye.
Yep, or the low-level anxiety that the Amazon delivery driver is going to ring the doorbell right in the middle of your presentation.
Exactly. So you are draining your battery before you have even typed a single line of code or drafted one email.
You're effectively paying this massive, friction tax just to exist in the space.
Precisely. You're paying a tax. So when Focus Business Lounge strips away that environmental management, the utilities, the secure network, the physical infrastructure, they are basically acting as your operating system.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah, your prefrontal cortex is liberated because you aren't operating as a part-time facility manager and a part-time barista dodger and a part-time professional.
you just get to be the professional.
Exactly. By outsourcing that friction tax to the Focus team, you get to allocate 100% of your cognitive resources to your actual profession. You literally just show up, open your laptop, and focus.
Okay, but let me push back a little on this idea of total environmental control.
Sure.
Because if you strip away all of those variables,
Yeah.
right, and you simply isolate someone in a perfectly optimized private luxury box, don't we risk swinging the pendulum entirely too far?
What do you mean?
Well, if the environment is too sterile and the friction is completely gone, don't we just end up creating highly comfortable silos where people never organically collaborate?
Yeah. That is a critical distinction to make, and honestly, it's why workspace design is so notoriously difficult.
Right.
Isolation, just for the sake of isolation, can indeed become a sterile vacuum. But the objective of minimizing cognitive load isn't to remove all stimuli. It's to remove unproductive friction.
Unproductive friction. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, because there is a vast difference between the productive friction of, say, debating a new idea with a colleague and the unproductive friction of worrying if your chair is going to collapse.
Or worrying about the Wi-Fi.
Exactly. The goal of this plug-and-play private model is to just eliminate the logistical noise. So your mental energy can be entirely reserved for the high-value friction of actual deep work.
Makes sense. Okay, so if we are reclaiming all of this cognitive energy by getting rid of the logistical noise, where does that actually leave us financially?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right, and that brings us to one of the most fascinating claims in the source material. The focus space explicitly promises to deliver executive suite energy, but without the executive suite overhead.
Which is a huge promise.
It is.
Yeah.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting to me. I have to admit, when I hear the phrase executive suite, my brain immediately jumps to like massive corporate leases,
Yep.
terrifying monthly burn rates, getting locked into this ironclad 5-year contract just for a corner office.
A traditional corporate nightmare.
Exactly. So are we just taking corporate life and shrinking it down, or is this something entirely new? How does a local space actually democratize that level of infrastructure without just passing those massive commercial costs straight onto the local worker?
Well, to understand the financial mechanics here, we kind of have to look at how the software industry revolutionized itself over the last 20 years.
Okay, the tech world.
Yeah. Think about it. Yeah. We moved from companies buying their own massive, super expensive server farms to utilizing infrastructure as a service.
Right, IaaS. Through the big cloud providers.
Exactly. You just rent the exact computing power you need exactly when you need it.
Yeah.
Well, what Focus Business Lounge is doing is applying that exact same IaaS model, but they're mapping it onto physical, high-end real estate.
Oh, wow. Physical infrastructure as a service. So instead of buying the servers, you are essentially subscribing to the ergonomic chair in the boardroom.
Exactly. And, it's not just any chair.
Right.
The source details really highlight the physical amenities. They've got ergonomic furniture specifically designed so it won't ruin your back by noon.
Which is so crucial.
It is. And it's paired with a highly reliable tech setup. In the old model, if a solo consultant or, a lean startup team wanted to achieve that baseline of physical comfort and technological security,
They were looking at massive capital expenditure.
massive, what we call CapEx in the business.
Mm.
You had to front the cash for the $1,000 chairs. You had to hire the IT contractor to run the secure enterprise-grade routers.
Oh, yeah, the wiring alone.
Yeah, and you had to sign the commercial lease.
Mm.
But Focus absorbs that massive initial CapEx and basically converts it into a manageable, flexible OpEx.
For the user.
Right, for the user via their membership.
That completely rewrites the risk profile for a small business or honestly just an independent professional.
It totally does.
You get to walk into an environment that projects the image and delivers the physical benefits of a multi-million-dollar corporate infrastructure,
Yeah.
but your actual financial exposure is literally just limited to your monthly access fee.
Exactly. You are extracting all the benefits of the corporate behemoth, but you're leaving that giant financial anchor behind.
That's amazing.
It's an incredible leveling of the playing field because historically, the flawless boardroom and the premium ergonomics, They were gatekept by massive corporate entities.
Right, you had to earn your way into the tower.
They were the rewards you only received after scaling up massively. But now, those tools are available from day one. It allows the solo professional to punch significantly above their weight class when they're meeting with clients.
I really want to double-click on that ergonomic piece for a second,
Okay.
because the sources specifically note furniture that won't ruin your back by noon.
Yeah, it's a specific detail, but a very important one.
It is, because we tend to dismiss a good chair as a luxury, right? Or just a nice perk. But your physical environment absolutely dictates your stamina.
Oh, 100%.
Like when you are hunched over a laptop on a super soft living room sofa, your body is physically fatiguing way before your brain actually does. The physiological strain of poor posture actively degrades your ability to sustain a flow state.
Right, because physical discomfort is, going back to our earlier point, it's just another background application draining your brain's RAM.
Yes.
When your lower back is inflamed, your brain is subconsciously diverting resources to process those pain signals.
Wow, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. Premium ergonomics act as a biological foundation for sustained cognitive endurance. So by providing that specific, high-end physical support, Focus isn't just offering comfort. They are fundamentally extending the productive half-life of your workday.
So, okay, we have established this highly optimized private execution chamber that saves your back and totally protects your RAM.
Right.
But the space isn't called the Focus Business Cubicle Farm.
No, it's not.
It's called the Focus Business Lounge. And the source material is very deliberate about striking a balance here.
It's a very intentional design.
Right. They offer premium breakout areas that are meant for actual human conversation. And those are sitting right alongside the absolute privacy needed for deep focus projects or, hosting confidential board-level consultations.
Yes.
So what does this all mean? It seems to present a fascinating paradox. It's almost like a professional mullet.
Professional mullet.
Yeah, serious board-level privacy when you need it, but a collaborative human community right outside your door. How do you engineer a space for deep, isolated focus while simultaneously branding it as a collaborative lounge?
Well, what's fascinating here is that it's a deliberate architectural response to the dual and honestly often contradictory nature of modern knowledge work.
Contradictory how?
Well, if we look at the trajectory of workspace design, we've really seen the disastrous results of designing environments for only one mode of working.
Oh.
The massive open plan offices of the last decade. They totally destroyed privacy and made deep work nearly impossible.
Everyone wearing noise-canceling headphones just to survive.
Exactly. But conversely, if you keep a worker isolated in a silo indefinitely, their creative output begins to stagnate. They become entirely disconnected from broader industry trends and new perspectives.
Right. You cannot simply be a monk in a cave if you want to stay relevant in a dynamic, fast-moving market.
You really can't.
You need what sociologists refer to as weak ties.
Yes, exactly.
Those serendipitous, completely unplanned interactions with people outside your immediate team or your specific discipline.
That is the exact sociological mechanism at play here. In network theory, those weak ties are the primary source of novel information and innovation.
Okay, so how does the lounge play into that?
Well, when you are inside the dedicated private office at Focus, you are utilizing your strong ties. You are executing the plan, doing the deep work.
Right.
But when you step out into those premium breakout areas, you are entering an engineered collision space.
Collision space.
Yeah, you are exposing yourself to the local professional culture that the sources note is actively growing right there in town. You might overhear a conversation or, strike up a chat with someone in an entirely different industry while you're just grabbing a coffee.
It treats the professional workday as a fluid rhythm rather than a static state.
Exactly.
When you need to synthesize complex data or host a highly sensitive consultation, you deploy the private office. But when you hit a wall or you just desperately need the neurochemical reset of actual human interaction, you step into the lounge.
And the crucial element here, which is what makes this specific balance the secret sauce of modern work, is agency.
Agency.
Yeah. The failure of the modern open plan office wasn't the presence of other people. It was the total inability to escape them.
Oh, that is so true.
By offering both the private suite and the communal lounge, Focus Business Lounge gives the professional the agency to control their exposure to the community. You engage with the network entirely on your own terms, based on what your brain needs in that specific hour of the day.
That makes total sense. Okay, let's zoom out a bit from the interior architecture and look at the macro geographical implications of all this.
Let's do it.
because I think the location is a massive part of the story here.
Oh, completely.
The sources make a real point of highlighting that Focus Business Lounge is located in Peterborough, specifically noting that it's situated right by the mall.
Which is incredibly strategic.
Right, and they explicitly frame this as a huge win for the community because professionals can access that elite big city business infrastructure without the grueling big city stress.
Yeah.
So my question is, if I can get all of this big city infrastructure locally right by the mall, doesn't this totally rewrite the rules on where top-tier talent needs to live?
It completely upends it. It is a massive disruption to the historical flow of human capital.
How so?
Well, for a century, the unwritten rule of the global economy was that talent had to migrate to where the heavy infrastructure lived.
Right, the skyscrapers.
Exactly. If you wanted access to the high-speed networks, the executive boardrooms, and the dense collision of professional networking, you were forced to commute into a major metropolitan hub.
Yeah, spending hours on a train or in gridlock.
Right. Commuter towns and smaller cities essentially functioned as economic dormitories.
Oh, wow. Dormitories.
Yeah, they exported their most valuable resource, their human capital, every morning on a train or a highway, and imported them back every evening, completely exhausted.
And now with physical infrastructure as a service, that centralized corporate mountain is essentially being dismantled and distributed out to the suburbs and the smaller cities.
Precisely.
The executive suite is basically being localized.
Yes. This is the flexible, professional, and community-driven future of how we're going to work.
Yeah.
When a space like Focus Business Lounge sets up high-tier, plug-and-play infrastructure right by the mall in Peterborough, it intercepts that daily migration.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Right. The top-tier talent no longer has to leave their local ecosystem to access world-class professional tools. The network is finally coming to the talent rather than forcing the talent to endure the massive friction of moving to the network.
The compounding economic effect of that locally is staggering if you really break it down.
Yeah, it's huge.
Because if a professional saves, say, 10 hours a week by eliminating their commute to a major city hub, that is 10 hours of pure temporal wealth returned to them to reinvest in their family or their actual work.
Absolutely.
But it is also a massive economic retention mechanism for Peterborough itself.
That is the economic multiplier effect in action.
Right.
Because when that professional stays local, their incidental spending stays local too. The coffee they buy in the morning, the lunch they grab with a colleague, the after-work networking events they attend, all of that capital circulates within the community.
Instead of being exported to a downtown metro center.
It's exactly. By providing the infrastructure locally, Focus isn't just saving individuals from a stressful highway commute. They are acting as an anchor for local economic vitality. They are literally keeping the capital in the community.
It shifts Peterborough from a place where professionals just happen to sleep into a localized powerhouse where they actively build their enterprises.
Yes.
And the barrier to entry for this macro shift is incredibly low. The sources note that everything, memberships, private office bookings, a full suite of business solutions, it's all accessible directly through their website at imandfocus.com.
Is that easy?
Yeah. You don't have to petition a corporate board of directors to change your life. You just click a button, bypass the commute, and upgrade your daily environment.
It represents a fundamental transfer of power back to the individual knowledge worker.
I love that.
You are no longer tethered to a centralized corporate monolith. You can select the environment that maximizes your output and minimizes your friction right in your own backyard.
So, to bring all of these threads together, we started this deep dive huddled at that chaotic kitchen table, right?
Yep, with the screaming toddler.
Exactly. Our brain's RAM completely drained by toddlers, blenders, and just the endless logistical friction of trying to execute serious work in spaces that were never designed for it.
And what the model of Focus Business Lounge reveals is that we do not have to accept that friction as the default cost of doing business.
We really don't.
By treating physical infrastructure as a service, professionals can access elite, ergonomic, executive-level environments without the crippling capital expenditure.
And by intentionally designing a space that respects the fluid nature of human focus, providing both the deep isolation of a private office and the serendipitous networking of a premium lounge, these spaces actually cater to the complex neurochemical needs of the modern professional.
They really do.
And most importantly, it keeps that top-tier talent and that compounding economic energy rooted right in the local community. It proves that you do not need to endure a brutal commute to a massive city center to be a serious player in your industry.
Not anymore.
So if you are listening to this right now from a kitchen chair that is actively degrading your physical stamina, or if you are just ready to reclaim those lost commuting hours and plug into a thriving local network, the blueprint is waiting for you. You can find all the details on memberships and private office bookings at aimandfocus.com.
As we wrap up this deep dive into the evolution of the workspace, there is one final, much larger implication of this geographic shift to consider.
Oh, what's that?
Well, if high-end plug-and-play infrastructure can now be deployed anywhere, and talent no longer needs to centralize to be highly productive, what happens to the traditional concept of a company's headquarters?
Oh, wow.
Right. In the near future, will a company's culture be defined not by a single monolithic building they own in a major city, but entirely by the vibrant, decentralized local lounges where their distributed employees choose to plug in?
That is a fascinating question. It really makes you question whether the era of the massive corporate campus was a permanent feature of our economy or just a temporary logistical necessity that we have finally outgrown.
Exactly.
Well, that is definitely something to chew on the next time you find yourself stuck in gridlock traffic. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We will catch you on the next one.